current tech news reviews. You're listening to Techies Talking Tech Tonight, colloquially known as T4. I'm your host, Trey Comstock, and with me as ever is Jimmy Principe.
Hello, Internet.
It is Saturday, May 16th, 2015. We are back with yet another show of
About the
T4.
tech. We're those
Tech.
techies that talk about it at
We talk about it. It is
night.
definitely the night.
The night.
It is most
In
definitely
the
the night.
night.
So if you're wondering why the audio quality sounds different, none of the pieces of our current rig are used on our normal rig except
Our
the laptop
primary.
that's doing the heavy lifting. This system is a mess. And I have no idea what it sounds like. I am monitoring.
Sounds
I can only
sounds
hear
awesome.
I can only hear Jimmy's audio, coming in through my Apple Beats earbuds, and
Which means that I'm extra bassy today.
right, yeah, no, it's true. It's a good sound. So I look good while I'm doing this show.
No. You need the really big beats.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I don't even have my green Beats,
Disappointed.
here with me. This is, um, yeah, I'm using a Vista era audio interface, which is fine. It's a nice audio interface. All the pieces of this is, yeah. I'm also using Call
Special.
Recorder for Skype, a plugin that I bought for Skype out of desperation because I don't trust free software.
But freeware is really the answer. Oh, hello, phone.
No,
Um,
sometimes freeware means you're the product.
Often these days, freeware means you're the product.
So
That's actually
speaking
the. Go ahead.
so speaking of companies that think I'm the product, I bought it or I received a new product.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're gonna get a hands-on.
Just in case I managed to capture a video version of this, I have no idea how this works. I have a Dropcam by Nest, which is owned by Google.
Which in no way is confusing.
Yeah, because it's like Dropcam by Nest or whatever, and then they're all a Google company. So what I realized is I don't think I'd ever seen one of these things in person.
Yeah, no, I've never actually seen one
So
until
when you
like
look at them on the internet, they look like a cheap webcam strapped to a wall, right? They look like
because that was the original concept for the
well,
thing.
they are essentially a webcam. I mean, you can't take away the fact that it is a webcam strapped to a wall. But what I mean is, it's bigger than you think it's going to be, and
Yeah.
the housing is the bracket's made of metal.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
and the camera itself is bigger than you think it's going to be. It's bigger than an old school webcam. I can't give you. Hold on, I guess I have a universal size comparison. The iPhone 6 Plus.
Which in and of itself is massive.
So compared to the massive, I mean it's big. Um,
Well, presumably that means it brings in a lot of light, which
right.
is really one of the main selling features of the thing. Is
This isn't a complaint. This is just more of a surprise. And so then it snaps back into this bracket, and it comes with a wall mounting bracket. Um, so I got this. I got the Dropcam by Nest by Google as a baby monitor. My first child's supposed to be born literally any day now. And so it was time to kind of get serious about baby monitors. And what I realized is the baby monitor market is a racket because it's all of these people doing what Dropcam does, but without having Google as their back end software.
right. Well, and also it's traditionally companies that made baby monitors, not companies that made other things.
But it's not even
They're
that. Like
trying to do more techie stuff.
one of this, what the kind of the main competitor to the Dropcam in the baby monitor space is called iBaby. Um, and so they offer a Dropcam like product with one added advantage that it is pan tilt zoom for a little more money, but I have to rely on their app. And it may be a perfectly fine app, I don't know, but it's only available for smartphones. There's no PC interface. Whereas with Dropcam, I can do both PC Mac through a web interface or an Android or iOS app.
Which is more interesting, really.
And
That way
again,
you have that PC
right.
interface.
And again, software brought to you by Google, not software brought to you by iBaby. So that's why I got it. Is my hope is this is actually what what the answer to every baby monitor problem that I could ever have.
Well, and it has the DVR feature, which
Yep.
is really handy, and it has, I mean, it does things other than be a baby monitor. So when your baby is no longer a baby, you can use it for I don't know, creeping on your child.
Well, you can talk. Okay, so it has a bunch of cool features that are good for baby monitor. You can talk straight through the camera. The camera has onboard speakers.
On the
So
back, I would presume.
yeah, I don't see it. Oh yeah, there it is. You can you're not gonna be able to see it.
It's the little dots, I would assume.
No, it's this. It's this little open space here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't come through on the video, but yeah, I take
I
your word.
found it. The dots are the screw holes. Um,
Oh, okay. That makes sense too.
it night vision. It has really intelligent motion and sound detection. So it will not only just live stream the internet like a baby monitor, so just have a old MacBook Air sitting open on my bedside table as our baby monitor receiver. Um, it also will send you an email
Or an
if
iPhone 5.
huh
Or an iPhone 5.
or an iPhone 5 or I just happen to have a
An extra MacBook Air
extra
because you're a
MacBook
crazy
Air.
person.
Yeah, I have a superfluous MacBook Air that's about to become a baby monitor. Um, it has so you it will send you an email um, if there's sound or motion detected in the room. You can also set specific zones within the camera's field of image that's the detection zone. So if someone comes through the door, if you set the door, you can say if someone comes to the door, that's a problem. Or you can ignore the door if the baby moves in the crib. You'll get a notification. It's pretty
That's
cool.
actually that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I've tested the night
it's
vision. The night vision is satisfactory.
it's an interesting because it's obviously originally intended for kind of like a home security
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
application.
it still has all the
But
features it
but
does.
this is the Dropcam 2.0, right? So this is their second, maybe even
Second rev
third.
of it, yeah.
This is their second generation, and I think that all the other things that you talked about, about the night vision and that stuff, has always been in it. I think that they added this stuff like the zones. I think that was a software backend thing that they added. The speaker, I don't think was in the first generation. So I think some of this may have been that someone at Dropcam went, well, probably it's because of their age. They
I think
probably had a
someone at
kid,
Dropcam
and
had a kid.
they went, oh, well, this is dumb. Why are these stupid, all these freaking companies with well, because this is more expensive than the original Dropcam was. The original Dropcam was 150 bucks.
This is $200,
Um,
which is still competitive with the iBaby, the high-end iBaby. Now, the only thing this doesn't have, which I guess will be in the next generation, is pan tilt zoom, right? But it has a pretty good wide angle, and I'm really only interested in the crib.
so
Um,
who cares?
so who cares, right? And so I am gonna probably take this baby monitoring thing one step further. Hey Jimmy, do you remember that Intel Franklin platform based baby monitoring thing we saw at CES 1,000 years ago? It's out.
No,
It
not
was shaped
really.
of a turtle. It was green.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It's
Okay.
out as a product called the Mimo for two
Oh
hundred
my
bucks.
god.
What you get for
Are
two
you
hundred?
are you adding this to your
It's
your
already on
baby
the
shower
registry. Are you
list?
kidding me? It's on the registry. I am getting myself a Mimo. Mimo. I don't know how to say it. Mimo.
I have to look this thing up again. I don't
Oh, it's great.
remember the details of this.
Oh, it's great. Um, so it is it's wearable tech. It's the quantification of your baby, basically. It monitors all kinds of
Smart
different.
baby nursery.
It monitors like the baby's temperature, um, baby's breathing. Um, it monitors all kinds of stuff like that. And sends it to a smartphone app, and it can send you alerts if the baby hasn't moved in X amount of time. And you get special onesies with a slot for the computer.
Yeah, yeah,
Gutsy.
yeah. It's like a cassette almost.
It's a little
It looks
cassette.
like.
It's a little like small computer sensor
Shaped
pack
like a
shaped like a
turtle.
turtle. And so you buy these
Little
special
green turtle. No,
onesies that are like $10 a piece. And
you
it
can
all
build your
integrates.
own.
And there are two different sizes of onesie, so you can have birth to 3 and then also 3 to 6 month onesies.
They also have
And they sell the
they
onesies
call them
separately.
kimonos.
Well, they're calling them kimonos, yeah. They
I
sell them
think it's funny.
separately, so you can replace them in case of poop explosions.
Yeah,
Or as
they
new kids
have.
like to call them, punamis. So you watch all these British parenting videos and they talk about the punamis. And I'm like, Jesus. Parenting is
And
a
it,
fundamentally undignified venture.
yeah, no, they have 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and 6 to 12
Oh, I
months.
forgot the 612. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, they're great.
it's,
It,
it's
it's a really cool thing.
you can buy the turtle and lily pad.
Yeah, so that's the
Um,
receiver and the charger. So
right,
the
with 3 kimonos included for 0 to 3 months.
right for two, and that's two. That package I believe is $200.
That is $200, and then for a 2 pack of kimonos is 30
Oh, so
bucks.
okay, they're $15 a kimono.
Hmm.
I mean,
There you go.
and you can quantify your baby. I mean, realistically, it's a way of
Well, presumably you do that at the hospital. 1, 2, 3.
right. Well, this is the kind of ongoing health monitoring stuff. It's also, I mean, realistically, this is about preventing sudden infant death syndrome, right? That kind of constant monitoring that the app can let you know if there's trouble right away. So if the baby's held still, so a baby should be kind of moving around in his crib, even when they're sleeping, at least once every 20 seconds. It'll alert you if the baby stops moving completely. That's the big thing.
When the baby stops moving completely. Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, but I'm fascinated by my hope is we're gonna launch a new section of the site for parenting tech.
It's called Trey's Daddy Block.
Yeah, Trey's version of a daddy of being a
Trey,
mommy
Trey
blogger.
does Trey does daddy blocking.
Yeah, that's my thing. I haven't fully committed to this, but the drop cam, if I do, the drop cam will be my first, and the Mimo will be my second. But I want to actually use them with the kid.
Well, and then there will also be the things like Trey the photographer
Yeah.
being a momtographer, which
Right.
I'm actually personally very excited for Trey the momtographer.
Right. But this can go one of two ways. I don't necessarily take a lot of pictures of my personal life right now. So,
You either will take no pictures of your personal life, or you'll take just lots and lots and lots of pictures.
right. I mean, I really only have two speeds. I'm either not taking photos or I'm acting like the professional photographer I sort of am. So,
This is true.
so we'll see. I have no idea. Right now, my DSLR is not in my baby go bag.
It doesn't really fit. You really need the new Canon thing for
Yeah,
that.
I do need that. So I haven't used this a ton. I've played around with the cloud DVR. That seems like real powerful software. The pricing's a little expensive. It's $10 a month or $100 a year for 7 days of recording, or twice that for 30 days.
Twice that for 30 days is probably what they're trying to push you into.
Right, but I don't. Why on earth? I don't
To share those precious memories.
of my baby sitting there and pooping. Like it's just on some level, I it's a baby monitor. It's a baby monitor with the cloud DVR. But I
I
like
know
the idea.
7 days is probably enough.
I like the idea of like being if like I'm at working late, be able to just like have a window open and watch my baby sleep while I work in my office. Like that sounds great.
Or the more realistic, you're on the other side of the world, and you can
Right.
wish your baby a good night through the speaker.
Through the magic of technology. Daddy's a disembodied voice.
Yeah, I think that Superman was the
Right, yeah. Um,
was the analogy.
right. It's kind of like that. I, or what I want actually. So my Apple Watch still hasn't shipped yet. I'm not, it's not like I'm mad, but it hasn't shipped yet. I picked a really popular one. It's
Yeah,
not
you
supposed to
picked.
ship until next week or the week after. But what I want is I want a Nest app for Apple Watch, so I can have my baby monitor open on my watch while I'm, say, in a meeting.
What are you doing? Nothing.
I'm monitoring. I'm babysitting. Where's your child? He's in his crib.
I'm on it. Don't worry.
I'm parenting. I really actually want that. If anything, just like if I'm downstairs and he's upstairs, because there's speakers on the Apple Watch, so
Right,
that
right,
could
right.
be. To me, that's actually a really great use of the Apple
Yeah, yeah,
Watch
yeah. That would be a good application.
because it's something that I'm only going to passively look at, make sure he's all right, or if I hear him cry, then we go take care of him. I actually think that would. I'm not actually joking. I really do think that would be a cool thing. Now,
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a market for that.
I'm that market. I've been really impressed with this thing so far. It comes with a bracket, as I said, it comes with a bracket to mount it to a wall, including the screws. It's a fairly seamless thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's got all of the things you'd want.
the only really weird thing is it also comes with a 10-foot USB cable, because
That's awesome.
that's the only way to power it is a 10-foot USB, or as long as you
God.
want USB cable. So that's not exactly seamless. There's this like and it's an oddly thick USB cable running down your wall.
Because they're afraid you're gonna break it, probably,
Sure,
or it's shielded or something.
right. Look, I don't. It doesn't actually bother me. I'll just paint it to match the color of the wall, and it'll be fine. It'll go
Right.
well with my nursery, which will not be gray or chevron. I screw
No
you,
chevron.
Pinterest. It's not going to be gray or chevron.
Will it have mason jars?
No mason jars, no burlap. Burlap's usually
Burlap.
good for babies. No, look, if you go
Barn.
again, the tech side
Will
of
it be in a
parenting.
barn?
If you look, dude, I've done a barn burlap and mason
Mason
jar wedding.
jar wedding. Yep.
Literally, I've done one that was all of those things. The no joke, the cake was in the shape of wood, not a stump. Okay. To be fair, of all the mason jar, barn, and burlap weddings, I was actually marrying a guy who is a farmer. He is literally a farmer and is literally the son of a farmer. This is not like some hipster fled to the woods. This is like generations of farmers. So if anyone has earned the right to do a mason jar, burlap, and barn based wedding, it is a man who is actually a farmer.
Right.
Okay? Like, of the weddings I've done as a pastor, this one I was like, yes, okay, this is absolutely Pinterest chic. But these are probably the people who like originated
Started
some of
it.
this stuff.
Yeah. Before the hipsters stole it, they
Right.
probably started it.
Like this couple getting married in a barn makes total sense. He is a farmer. Literally, he grows food for a living. Or as he puts it, he's a professional gambler.
Based on what the price is.
Well, no, because you think about it, all just like in the restaurant business, in farming, all of your costs are up front. All of them are up front. Whether your crop lives or die, he happens to do chickens. So if your chickens live or die, it doesn't matter. All of your costs are already sunk. So you're a gambler. You're gambling on how well these chickens are going to grow and how many of them will live.
Right.
He's a professional gambler. His words, not mine. He's a professional gambler. Speaking of gambles, you have a Microsoft thing you want to talk about because we can't make
Yeah.
it through a show without talking about
Yeah,
Microsoft.
no, we have to talk about this Microsoft thing. So, the Surface 3 came out about 2 weeks
While
ago.
we were dark, yeah.
Well, yeah, while we were dark, it came out, and the reviews of it have come back, and they've not been that excellent.
So
So
what
I
do they
really
say?
just
Okay, so I've actually spent not a crazy amount of time, but some time hands on with this device. What do they think are the problems? And I'll
okay.
tell you
So
about just my experience.
I'll back up, and so the Surface 3 is the replacement for the Surface 2, not the Surface Pro line.
Right.
It's what has traditionally been the RT line, and
It's
they
no
killed.
longer an ARM processor. It's back to it's
Yeah,
an Intel
it's
Atom
it's the Broadwell
Broadwell. Sure.
Broadwell processors. It's whatever the newest Atom processor is what's in it, and all it's the same one that's in the new MacBook, the actual MacBook with the one port.
No, that's a
Uh,
Pentium. That's a Core M.
maybe this
That's
is
not an Atom.
um, My Microsoft guy's all plugged in. I can't talk to him, but the yeah, I think it's an Atom processor
It
in
is.
this
I
one.
know it's an Atom in the description letter.
Running full fledged Windows, $500 or 499 for the base model.
Does not include the keyboard or the pen.
Just yeah, so it does not include the pen, which is a difference from the Pro, but does not include the keyboard either, which is the same thing as the Pro.
So for you need
Um,
to for the full service experience, you need to spend a extra
you
180
need to
bucks.
yeah, you need to drop nearly $700 on the device. Um, so the main ding against it has been, at, as I read it, is that $130 for a keyboard accessory on a $500 device is just too much money.
But that's been the case for all of the Surfaces.
That's so yeah. So it gets similar reviews to what the first and second generation of the Surface Pro line got, where it was just like, this is just too much money to spend for a peripheral for this device. And I always come back to the yeah, but to buy that same peripheral for an iPad, that a peripheral that isn't as good, is the same money.
Or maybe a little less, but it's
So like
still
yeah, the most of them are about $100 for a good one.
yeah.
Um, so, but you're getting something that's a more integrated experience, something that is backlit and all
They're
these things,
nice. I've
and doubles as a cover.
I've been saying this. I've been selling Surfaces. Basically, is what I do.
Right,
Talking about laptops, really, I'm selling Surfaces. Apparently, I wrote probably 400 pages on mine last year.
right, and it's a that is the main ding against it, and it's not even that the pen isn't included. That's not what people seem to be okay with the fact that the pen isn't included. But I think that this comes back to what our original discussion about the Surface line was, is that the way that it's packaged is that this is a laptop,
Yeah.
and people think of it like a laptop, not as well. It's really an iPad. It's iPad pricing, and it's same kind of form factor as an iPad, and it
So
it
much
does
more.
it does so much more. It's so much better than an iPad, and but it can't get out of this people saying, but it's not. It costs so much to make it a laptop, so that's it's just not as good. You know,
So it's still cheaper than the equivalent MacBook. Cheapest
right?
MacBook's $1,000.
I usually try not to call out specific journalists, but I spend a lot of time on CNET, and you read the CNET review of the iPad, and the iPad it has like 4.5 stars for the most recent iPad. Um, because it's just so good. It's just it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I think
Yeah.
Scott Stein wrote that review.
And it was a thousand
Um,
a thousand pages long.
it was 1,000 pages long, and I'm not exactly sure what his point was. Um, Other than it was gold, and
It's a good
was
device. Look, I
was the
have no
second
beef.
coming of Jesus Christ.
I have no beef with the iPad. It's a good device for what it
but
is.
but that's the thing I come back to is that so the iPad gets this very high rating, and the Surface 3 gets a 3.5 star rating. And I don't think that a keyboard accessory being $130 extra cost should be the thing that makes it so that it's not a 4 star. It's a 4 star device.
Sure.
For that price, for the quality, the build quality, it's that
It's
same
good.
magnesium,
Hmm.
the Vapor Mag. It doesn't have the infinite position
Yeah,
kickstand.
it's they're
It's like a
third
three
position.
position, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. It's not three or
So
four.
it covers the positions that most people are going to use it in. They have the almost lay flat. They have basically have the two extremes and then one in the middle.
Yep.
Um, which makes sense. And I mean, the pen that works. I mean, it has a digitizer.
It's the same
Um,
pen as on the Surface Pro
it's,
3.
it's exactly the same pen as the Surface Pro 3. It runs full-fledged Windows. It's an x86 operating system. It'll run any Windows app that you've ever used
Well, sort. I mean,
on Windows 7 or later. And
theoretically, with
theoretically,
given
most
the
of them,
hardware constraints.
but yeah, most of them will work. You can like you don't want to game on it. You don't want to run full fledged video processing on it. But other than that, it's going to be fine. It's not going to really hold up. If you're running your it'll run iTunes. There you go, Trey.
It'll run iTunes.
I mean, that's the app that most people are going to be thinking of. It'll run whatever you want. Any
And
shareware you can
Adobe
download from the
Flash, by
internet.
the way,
Oh yeah, it'll run Flash.
like
The
an
the
iPad.
web will work great. I mean, it it's a good device, and so I I can't quite put my finger on what it is about Microsoft's marketing strategy that is has such a disconnect for people. And I can't figure out if it's because when people think about tablets, they don't think about tablets. When people think about tablets, they think about the iPad.
Specifically, yeah.
So the iPad is literally its own class of device. It doesn't compete with anything. It is the thing.
Right.
Everyone else just tries to be an iPad for less money, more features, whatever. Um, I don't think that the Windows or that the Surface 3 is an iPad. The Surface 3 is it's an Inspiron, for lack of a better term.
So
I
I
mean,
mean, look,
it's
we gave the original version of this thing our device of the year, and it was not much of a discussion. I think that was a fairly easy decision, and no one else was thinking like that. I get it, but if you really take seriously what the Surface is and what the Surface does, and at this point, I've owned
uh,
one for years. Sydney's owned
they've
one for three
reached.
years. And we use these devices every day. If you really take seriously what they are that answer between needing a tablet and a laptop. You don't.
Whereas the iPad is not.
The iPad is not. The iPad is
and
marketed that way, but it
and
isn't.
neither are most ultrabooks. So like I have this Yoga, which was the best device I could get at the time, and it is a fantastic laptop, but it is not, and it flips over into the tablet mode. I never use it in tablet mode.
So I
It's
use
too
my
it's too heavy.
so in an equivalent power device for its day and age, Surface
Hmm?
Pro 3. I use in tablet mode every day.
Which is why I recommend this with the larger screen and the better aspect ratio, and the fact that it's lighter. The ones that came before it, like the Surface Pro 3 is the best the Surface could be almost.
Sure, until we see what the Surface Pro 4 is. I think the Surface 3 is a fundamentally compromised device
It's a device that makes sacrifices on power
and screen size.
and slight sacrifice, but it's not a significant sacrifice. It's like a 11-inch screen.
It
Um,
looked smaller than that, but
it's the same size as a 11-inch laptop. Whereas the Surface Pro 3 is in that 12-inch
yeah,
category. So it's slightly bigger, but it's not as small as the original Surface. The Surfaces were. It's
sure. These are
slightly bigger than
9.8s
the previous generation were, and
or 10.1s, whatever.
yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's like an incremental. It's like a 10.6 or something. But they also changed the aspect ratio and whatever.
To more like paper, like the Surface Pro 3.
Right. It's the same aspect ratio as the Surface Pro 3. It is a less powerful, slightly smaller Surface Pro 3.
And it's significantly cheaper. All
It
in with
yeah,
keyboard and pen, you're still less than a Surface Pro 3.
you're right. You're still less than a base Surface Pro 3, which is not the one you would actually want. You want the one that's $1,000 for with nothing with it.
Right, so you're in for like 1150.
And I think the thing is that people I think it's that people have decided that they don't need computers in a non-professional
No,
setting.
I'm not even sure that's what it is. I
Well, they
think some
they
of this is
bought the
just
Apple
it's just
PR thing.
institutional bias, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I have an institutional bias towards Microsoft, and I'll admit that.
no. So look, I live in both worlds, right? I'm sitting
Mm,
here recording this on a brand new MacBook Pro, and sitting over there is my Surface Pro 3. So
mm,
I play in both of these worlds. I have an iPhone and a Lumia. I walk that middle line. I spend a lot of money on both companies every year, right? I love my laptop. I love my Apple laptops. I think for pure laptops, they're as good as a laptop can be.
Hmm.
The Surface is something more than that. So I
The
have a
Surface is not trying to be that.
well, but the Surface completely replaced both my 11-inch MacBook Air and my 7-inch iPad. Okay, 8.3, whatever, my iPad Mini. Now having a
Yeah.
phablet didn't hurt either in the death of not barely using my iPad. Um,
It basically got edged out by those two devices.
right, but journalists, my sense is tech reviewers just don't see that. They just go, Microsoft, oh, that's the company that was really lame 10 years ago. They're actually like hugely exciting now.
Well, and I've mentioned this before the show, but we didn't cover build, but I literally only watched like 5 minutes of build. But the 5 minutes of build I watched was Joe Belfiore getting up there and going, "All right, I'm going to show you Continuum on the phone, how it would look on the phone after showing off the stuff that had already kind of been shown at the previous." Um, the whatever I don't even remember what the previous thing was back in February. He said, I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the phone." And so he pulls out a Lumia icon and plugs it in. And he goes, we don't have new hardware to show at this time, so this is a virtualized environment of what would look like." And he plugs it in, and it goes on to explain what it looks like. And it looks, you got the full desktop and all of that. And I go, well, he just announced that they're going to have a Lumia phone that will have some kind of a dock. It'll be like that Motorola thing.
Yeah, I remember
It was, I don't know. It
something.
was, oh, what was that stupid thing
Ative.
called?
It was
Oh
like
yeah, Ative. It was
Ative.
with the Ative PC. That was so dumb. That was such a crazy idea. And
Palm tried that too. Palm Folio.
yeah,
Never came out, but it's that same idea.
but I think that, well, and it's like the pad phone, the Asus pad phone.
Yep.
Um, I think that the Lumia, they'll have some kind of a docking thing, and it'll probably be what they're probably going to do is there'll be a dock that on the back has a USB port, an HDMI port, or a couple USB ports and an HDMI port,
And headphones
and an
jack.
Ethernet jack.
Yeah. I think what's also just cool to me at this point of history is seeing the variety of things that are Windows 8 and Windows 10 PCs, right? So you have the Intel streaming stick. Windows 8.1 will get Windows 10. That's a $150 PC about that big, 3 inches long, that slots into a
Right,
HDMI port.
it's a Chromecast sized thing.
It's a Chromecast size full PC. You have Acer just announced or just released a new Revo.
Yeah,
New
actually,
gaming PC.
it looks pretty
Really
good.
nice. Total departure from the previous one.
What? How much is that thing? I
I didn't
saw it.
actually see.
It popped up today, but I mean, it looks like it's about yay big. I mean, it's
It's
like,
4 inches tall, maybe.
yeah. I mean, it's a big Roku. Is kind of the size it is.
Yeah, and that's again
Um,
going to be a full PC. And then you have things like the Surface Pro 3, and then you have things like the Alienware ridiculous desktop. All of these things are within the same operating system, and that's just not it. That's not even talking about the mobile devices.
right, or any of the integrated stuff.
Right, or and
Like,
now Raspberry Pis as well.
right.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I think a lot of it is that when Microsoft is doing a lot of interesting things, they are just having difficulty packaging it for people. But I think that with the Surface Pro 3, I think that with the Surface Pro 3, because it is such a great device and it does not look like any of the other devices that are on the market.
Sure.
It has that look that when you see someone that has a Surface Pro 3, you're like, "Oh wow, that's a Surface Pro 3. That thing looks really cool. It looks really light, whatever." And everyone that has one loves it. And also the fact that because it's a Surface Pro 3, they're able to get around because like Dell doesn't have it and HP doesn't have it. And most businesses have deals with Dell and HP to provide their machines unless Dell and HP do not have something comparable.
Comparable, which is yeah.
So because of that, they can just direct provide these things to businesses. I mean, I know your dad was talking about rolling out Surface Pro 3s to all of his sales
Salespeople. Yeah,
guys.
that's something
I
he's
mean,
working on.
from a a corporate perspective, I think the Surface Pro 3 is really making the inroads that they've always hoped the Surface line
And
would.
that's certainly happening in education. I see, you know, 4 or 5 of them on a daily basis, which is huge. I maybe saw
In a
one
sea
Surface
of
around.
iPads and
And
MacBooks. I mean,
MacBooks,
that's
and people who paid so much money for a laptop they don't use half the capacity of.
but I'll be honest, Microsoft is really striking while the iron is hot because other than the MacBook Air series, which is not necessarily what people are buying, the old MacBook Pro, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, has been around forever and is still what a lot of students buy.
Yeah, the
It's
one
still
with
what
the
a lot of
display.
students look at because because of a price point thing. For $1,200,
But I think a lot. I think at this point, most of the ones
it's
I
more
see
it's more the Air.
are people buying the Airs, or occasionally I see the odd, non graphic or audio arts person with the 15-inch Pro, and I go, what? What?
Because they thought
Yeah.
it looked pretty.
I mean, it's a nice laptop. Don't get me wrong.
I mean,
And
other
it's
than form factor, there's no reason to get a 13-inch. Because for the same thing, you pay the same money.
yeah.
So I think that it's a lot of it is the fact that Apple found something that worked, and they've been doing that thing.
And they're doing it really well. I don't
They've
I
been
don't
doing it
have
really
beef with the
well. Oh
MacBook
no no
Air
no,
line. I have beef with the current MacBook. The one port
one port.
piece of garbage.
But I think that it's really that because Apple wasn't changing things that quickly because they didn't have to.
Sure.
When you have a great device, you don't have to change it very much.
Innovator's dilemma.
Um, Microsoft was able to say, well, what can we do that is not that thing?
And they did it.
They did it, and it's the Surface Pro 3.
And to a lesser extent the Surface 3. That's
Yeah,
not a
and
bad device.
the Surface 3 is just the logical. It was the best way to kill off Surface RT or Windows RT.
Sure. Which is not really going to get updated to Windows 10 either. It's going to
Yeah, they're
get
gonna get
some features.
like a pseudo update,
Yeah. Well, they get an update, but it's not going to be the full thing.
right? So that's the. I just wanted to air that out there and see if maybe you had some thoughts about why it is this Surface 4 or the Surface 3 is so hated.
I think some of it's just that institutional bias. I really do.
And I think that there is a certain amount that is true. I just
I think
it's too bad that and I think that it's when people go into the Microsoft store and they have hands on with these things, you understand what the value proposition is. The second that you hold one and you use the pen on it and you see how responsive it is
and the keyboard as well.
and that you use the keyboard on it, you go, "Wow,
I
this thing is the real deal."
So I think it's twofold. One, it's the institutional bias against Microsoft products in favor of Apple products, and I think at this point in history, the iPad gets way too high as scores.
Well, there's that.
Because you have to look at that and go, oh, it's so thin and beautiful, and you go, yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Johnny. You made a really pretty thing. What do I do with this thing? It's going to transform your productivity. My Johnny Ive is getting there.
Yeah,
It's
very
going to
quickly.
transform your productivity. No, it's not. You're a designer. Okay? What do you know about that? I'm a knight of the realm. It doesn't matter, Johnny. I've had 2 of these things now. They did not transform the way I work, and I even hoped the first one would. I really did. I was a believer. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Like, I
See,
really did.
what I've had with both the tablets I've owned was what do I do with this? I have it. Now what?
Right. And so it's great
And then
for
I just played games on it. That's I mean
playing games and surfing the web and watching Netflix and Amazon and all of these things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's great at that. The Surface 3 will do all of that. And then when it's work time, you snap the keyboard on,
well,
and
they
now
also have
you're
a dock
productive.
for it. They also have a dock for it.
And there's a
So
dock for it.
that's the other thing. So they actually I don't know if there was a dock for the Surface 2 or the
I
original
don't
Surface.
actually know.
I don't think there was. I think that that was a Surface Pro feature. They added that with the Surface Pro 2.
And
Um,
yeah, there's a great one for the Surface Pro 3 as well.
and so with the Surface Pro 3, they have a good dock. By having a Surface 3 with a dock, all of a sudden you solve that. Um, you know, if you want a full workstation kind of experience, plug the thing in the dock and you lights
I
up the monitors and you're good to go. But
I
most
also
people aren't doing that. I would be doing that.
I also think that some of what's going on with the Surface 3 is comparing it to an iPad. If you compare it to an iPad, maybe it's not as good of an iPad. I have
Well,
no
and it's
idea.
also so it's not as good of an iPad and it's not as good of a laptop. So therefore, it's just not as good. But that's not the value proposition. The value proposition is it's the best of an iPad and the best of a
A laptop.
laptop.
Right. I think it's a better laptop than an HP Stream 11. Although I really like again, I don't actually. It was one of our top 5 devices of the year. I really
Yeah, I
think
know
that's a
it's a good
cool piece of
device.
kit. Um, so it's better than a $400 laptop, because it is so light. It does get such good battery life, and it is so slick. Has the pen interface. It's much better than an iPad in terms of productivity. It's no worse than an iPad in terms of interacting organically with the digital experience. Right? You can do whatever. You can
Windows 8 is designed for that. I mean,
right to the almost to the detriment of its desktop usability. I mean, you know,
yeah.
you can play your dumb mobile games and watch video on this too, while naked on your couch. Like that can also be your tablet experience. And then when it's time to put on your big boy pants and go to work, that can also be your tablet experience.
You mean just put on your pants?
Just put on pants. Please put on. Please just put on pants.
That is a show title.
Please just put on pants. Um. So that dissolved. Um. If
And
you have
on that
any
note,
feedback for this show and pictures of you wearing pants,
no, we don't want any. Don't send us pictures. I
maybe
don't
just
want
don't send us
pictures.
pictures. Podcast at textlesscall.com, facebook.com/textlesscall, facebook.com/textlesscall, pinterest.com/textlesscall, at textlesscall on the Twitters. And with that, good night.